What's up, guys? Farzin Masugian here with you for another episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Thank you guys for joining me tonight on a Monday here while the Monday Night Football doubleheader is going on right now. Two fairly low-scoring games to start off here. Kind of an interesting night for these Monday Night Football games, but hey, still some time. We'll see what. Actually, no, I take that back. The Lions are actually putting up some points. Didn't realize that. But the Titans-Dolphins game, from a Chiefs fans standpoint, what's so interesting about that one? L'Jarius Sneed versus Tyreek Hill. I mean, Sneed is just owning Tyreek Hill tonight. 100%. 100%. Yeah, it's been very interesting to say the least to kind of watch that matchup. Just so weird. There are so many Chiefs players that obviously a lot of fan favorites on this team over the years, and some have left. So it's always interesting when you see a former Chief going up against a former Chief, especially on a big stage like this. So good to see L'Jarius Sneed getting the best of really doing great against Tyreek Hill tonight. So been that kind of a game for the Titans. Man, the Dolphins, man. I thought the Dolphins were going to be a really good football team this year, but just not really the case at the moment here. No, Isaac, we just got started here. Appreciate you guys downloading and listening to this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. For all of you watching live on Facebook and YouTube, big thanks to all of you guys as well. Forgot to get the Instagram live stream going, but we will get that fixed if the admins can help take care of that, please. So however you guys want to watch, plenty of ways to do so live. So a big thank you to everyone who's been doing that, following along. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. It's youtube.com/@thechiefszone. Greatly appreciate those who have been subscribed to the podcast on YouTube. We've been doing a lot of video content on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and the numbers are just off the charts. We had more than 30,000 views for our post-game show last night. And that's just video views. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, spreading the word. I know you guys are doing all of that because the numbers are just way up than they have been even in previous years. So thank you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys absolutely kick ass. So appreciate you guys and all of the stuff you've been doing, supporting me, supporting the podcast, and all that good stuff. So, all right. Yeah, let's get that out of the way, and let's go on here and talk about Rashee Rice. And yeah, there it is. It is right on ESPN's Monday Night Football there. They are showing that exact play right now. I've watched that a couple of times now. And my whole thing is, let me just, this is kind of off topic here. I know it's not a big concern. What's so crazy to me is the Chiefs are so afraid to run a QB sneak with Patrick Mahomes because they're afraid of another freak accident is going to happen like it did in Denver a few years ago. Yet Patrick Mahomes that's a really dangerous play right there where he lowered himself to try to get the defender. I can't remember who got the interception, but he's lowering himself and is going head first or shoulder first doing that. Dude, not that I'm glad Rice got hurt. Of course not. This is obviously, terrible news for the Chiefs. But, dude, if that was the actual defender there might have been a helmet-to-helmet collision there, and Patrick Mahomes might have gotten fined. I don't know. It's hard to say without that actual collision happening, but it looked like Patrick Mahomes kind of lowered himself to try to make a play. Listen, man, I've said this about Patrick Mahomes many times. If there's one big criticism I do have of Patrick, every single play for him has to be an A+ play. And I get it. It's been a kind of a frustrating start. So when you screw up like that and throw an interception so early, the second turnover in 5 snaps for the offense, he just feels the need to go out there and make a big difference and try to get that ball back. I get it, man. But it's you're going to get yourself hurt if that was a defender there. For Patrick's sake, thankfully that wasn't the case. But unfortunately, he took out his own wide receiver in that one. It kind of reminds me of, do you guys remember Chesler Cuthbert for the Kansas City Royals? He played some infield. He was playing third base one game. He and Salvador Perez were both going for a foul ball, kind of meeting each other in the middle. And Cuthbert kind of just collided with Salvador Perez. Perez ended up leaving that game with an injury. That was a weird game where the Royals came back down by like 6 or 7 in the ninth inning against the White Sox. And then 2 weeks later, same exact scenario, Cuthbert and Perez both going for the same foul ball, and they both back away because they both remembered what happened recently at the time. And it's just like, it's you don't ever want to collide with your teammate. You never don't want that to happen, of course. There's never a good time for an injury. There's never a good way for these things to happen. But teammate to teammate collision, I mean, that's just the worst. That really is. So let's get right into it because there is an update. This came from Josina Anderson, and she tweeted, she was the first one to get this out there. She said that Rashee Rice is going to get a second opinion on his knee injury. Adam Schefter on ESPN, about an hour or two before that report there, Adam Schefter was on SportsCenter, or one of the ESPN shows, NFL Live, I can't remember which one. He was out there saying that there is some hope from the Chiefs that this isn't as bad as they initially thought. Keep in mind, the report was the Chiefs feared that he tore his ACL. And now there is some hope here that it's not an ACL tear. Could it be a situation where he hyperextended his knee and might be out 2 to 3 months, which would be a majority of the regular season and possibly maybe a small part of the postseason? We don't know exactly. And I don't want to speculate on this too much because, again, you guys know injuries can be a little weird sometimes, especially with these reports and rumors that are out there and you don't really know the full story. And I also want to be respectful to the athlete involved because this is their health. This is not, really a time to spend too much time speculating on this injury. So as hard as it is right now, I think we all need to be patient and just kind of let this go out because Andy Reid, he said something that was a little weird in the moment, but now it's kind of starting to make sense. When Andy Reid was asked about Rashee Rice and in his situation, my whole thing is like, Andy Reid said he's doing testing. He's getting some tests done. And it's like, wait a minute. We were just told it's an MRI. So, because I've been kind of, on standby, just like you guys, kind of waiting to see what that MRI is going to say and what the insiders are going to report out there. But we have not really, we haven't really heard any official report on this. So at the end of the day, Jeremy, just to be clear, I'm not a reporter, so you might have me confused for someone else, but no, I'm not a journalist, not a reporter. I get these comments from time to time. Oh, you cover sports, you're a reporter, you're a journalist. No, I'm not any of those. I pushed back on that so many times to the point I've given up. So yeah, I don't know why people think I'm a reporter or a journalist, but I'm definitely not a reporter nor a journalist. So at the moment, we don't know the official word. This came out a couple of hours ago that he's going to get a second opinion. So at the moment, he's not on IR yet. His season's not over. Me personally, I'm not really holding my breath on it. That did look like a tear, just from my experience with bad knees. But hopefully, we can get some good news out of this because it'd be really tough to move forward without Rashee Rice. Maybe he might not be one of the league leaders as a wide receiver, but you could still get him to come back in January. There's like a really weird possibility right now that right now you're looking at Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown. They're possibly going to come back. I know Hollywood Brown on his Twitch stream, he tried to make it clear that he's not done. He's going to come back. Now is he going to come back this year or next year? I mean, I don't really know. But right now, this is a situation where you're starting to see a little bit of hope that's being put out there. I don't know, man. I'm not really holding my breath on that right now. And look, I know we talked about this recently with the Hollywood Brown news when it came out a couple of weeks ago. Listen, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a trainer. So this is like beyond my pay grade here, my level of expertise. But it is valid to question right now. The Chiefs training staff has not done a very good job with handling certain injuries. Remember Eric Berry? We were told day to day, and he didn't play for 15 weeks. And then the McCole Hardman injury, they activated his 21-day eligibility to practice, and they didn't put him on the 53-man roster until the 11th hour, which was really strange. And then the Hollywood Brown thing, where we were told he's getting close, and then 2-3 days later, we're told, nope, he's going to miss the almost the entire season, maybe all of it, including the playoffs. So I don't know. I'm not really sure. Yeah, see, Aaron says the training staff has been getting Fs for a few years. It's only been a couple of years because the whole thing with the NFLPA report card, that's only been around for 2 years. So appreciate it, Kyle. Thanks, man. Yeah, listen, that NFL, the whole thing with BJ Thompson, everyone criticized those who gave the Chiefs training staff an F because they saved BJ Thompson's life. It's like, yes, big ups to Rick Burkholder and the Chiefs training staff for what they did, and Harrison Butker and Truman Jones, who was also there. I mean, they really pulled through, and if it wasn't for them, could have been a situation that would have been a lot worse. And I heard people say, "Oh, well, that's the training staff that got an F." Then you look at overall body of work here, and I mentioned a couple of the injuries with Eric Berry, McCole Hardman, Hollywood Brown. I mean, there's a bad pattern here. So, and I'm not, saying this whole Rashee Rice thing has anything to do with the training staff, but it's just not looking very good right now with the repeated incidents here. So that's the latest with Rashee Rice. We do not have an update right now on Rice and his situation, other than he's going to go get a second opinion. Some people think that's a good thing. Some people think that's a bad thing. Take that for what it's worth to you. By the way, I'm seeing some comments about Sky Moore here in the live chat. So this actually just came out from Fox 4. Robert Rimpson, who's been a guest on the podcast before, he's with Fox 4 News, and he shared out a report from one of their reporters, I believe Harold Kuntz, who gave this report. He said that when Sky Moore dropped that pass on 3rd and short, the members of the media, or at least Harold Kuntz did, of Fox 4, he heard one of these loud, like angry thumps like this, like one of those. He heard one of those, and he looked over, and it was Brett Veach who did that. So if there was, obviously as fans, we're always cursing, reacting in ways fans normally do. And evidently, Brett Veach had a very similar reaction where he, thuds the table, and he was upset about the Sky Moore thing. And I think it's like, look, you guys know me. I try to be very patient with players when you sign someone, when you draft someone, because I don't think, in 2, 3, I'm already seeing people say Kingsley Suamataia is a bust. Slow down. He only played 2 games. He's going to get another opportunity down the line, I'm sure, whether it's this year or next year. But to call someone a bust after 2 games, I think is ridiculous. You got to give it more time. But when you look at this whole thing with the with the Chiefs and Sky Moore, I think that, because Andy Reid gave a really weird answer today. What did Andy Reid say? He said that because he was asked about Sky Moore, and he said Sky Moore is somebody who has been good for them and has given them some good downs. Okay. Sky Moore, according to Andy Reid, has given them some good. Listen, Andy Reid knows more about football than I ever will in my lifetime. But I have eyes. I have common sense. And, I have a good understanding of the sport. And I watch this team very closely, snap for snap, just like a lot of you guys. I do not know anything about Sky Moore and the amount of good downs he's produced. Can you guys help me out with this one? So I'm just gonna go down the line here. What good downs has Sky Moore given you? And I'm only talking about offense. I know a lot of people will say the punt return against the Bengals. Yeah, that was nice. Don't get me wrong. That helped set up the game-winning field goal. But we're just talking offense here. So the corn dog play, okay, it's more of the play call than it is a player. But still, you have to do your job as a player to sell that and make that happen. And then what was the other one? Oh yeah, against the Jaguars, where he had that nice catch and run last year in week 2 to help put away the game. That's really all I can think of with Sky Moore. Charlie says that one time he caught the ball. Yeah, the one time Sky Moore caught the ball. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Listen, I get it. Andy Reid's not going to shit on his players. I do not expect that at all. But I don't know. I have more negative opinions than positive opinions when it comes to Sky Moore. And I'm not going to go into detail with them because I think you guys all feel the same way. So it'd be a waste of time to go over that in detail. But even then, like, they kind of pulled him out of a game and they put McCole Hardman out there to fill in for him. And McCole Hardman is that guy who hasn't really been doing a whole lot on offense for the Chiefs. So I don't know. That was kind of an interesting answer from Andy Reid there. I do want to get into this because there's a lot of rumors right now about what the Chiefs are going to do. Who are they going to go after? Michael Thomas, the top free agent wide receiver who's available. Julio Jones, who's had a great career, but obviously, he's up there in age. But the one player that's been connected to Kansas City within the last, 24 hours has been Amari Cooper of the Cleveland Browns. Let me first get something out of the way before we get more in detail with Cooper here and whether this would be a good pickup for the Chiefs or not. Because when you look at what the Chiefs have right now, they don't have another pass catcher at the wide receiver position, specifically with double-digit receptions outside of Rashee Rice. So they really do need someone else to step up. And yeah, I appreciate it, Brandon. Thank you. I appreciate the comments about the man cave. I don't do a link tree. I don't really know what you would need for that, but I've put some clips out there. But if you have a specific question, which I've had plenty of those, feel free to ask those. But as far as Amari Cooper goes, that's one name that's connected to the Chiefs. But what about some of the other wide receivers? I'm seeing a lot of people, not just fans. I'm also seeing people in the media bring this up. Davante Adams. Okay, let me just remind you all. And maybe you guys don't need this reminder, but I feel the need to say it. Davante Adams plays for the Raiders. I don't know if a lot of you guys know this or not, but the Raiders are rivals with the Chiefs. Now, we have seen in-division trades before. I'm trying to think of like big in-division trades we've seen in NFL history. The first one that comes to mind is Donovan McNabb when the Eagles traded him to the Redskins, when now the Commanders. I know the Chiefs got Neil Farrell from the Raiders, but we're talking Neil Farrell, okay? In general, though, with Davante Adams, you're not going to get him unless the Chiefs are willing to give Chris Jones and 2 first-round draft picks. So obviously very unrealistic. Another name I've heard a lot of people bring up is T. Higgins. That is absolutely not happening because the Bengals, first of all, I know they're 1-3 right now. They just won their first game of the season against, who was it? Carolina. That's who it was. Carolina. Yeah, even though they're 1-3 right now, this is a team that's still looking to contend. So I don't think the Bengals are going to be set. If they started the season 0-4, I'd say the exact opposite. But 1-3 right now, okay, your season's not necessarily over yet. No one's season is technically, but I think there's a little bit of optimism in Cincinnati, given how their offense has looked the last 2 games. They're not going to get rid of anybody. And even if they were, the last team they would trade with would be Kansas City. They are not, again, unless Kansas City gave up something, one of those can't refuse type of deals, which, again, the Chiefs would not do. See, Matt beat me to it. This is my next point here. The Chiefs cannot afford guys like Davante Adams, guys like T. Higgins. You might be able to afford Jamar Chase. I don't know his exact cap number and all that stuff. I know he's on a rookie deal still, and that the 5th-year option kicks in next year. So short term, you could afford the guy. But again, the Bengals are not going to trade with you. The Chiefs have $4.9 million in cap space right now, according to Spot Track and the NFLPA salary cap report. So you're not going to be able to get a top tier wide receiver that's making a lot of money elsewhere. So again, there have been a lot of names that have been out there. The one name that a lot of people have been bringing up, Schefter's been bringing this up, Rap Sheet as well, several other insiders, is Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, that guy might be a feasible option for you because you look at his cap number right now. His base salary, $1.2 million. His cap hit is $8.7 million. So the Chiefs would need to do something to maybe adjust that a little bit, but not a whole lot needed here. I think if you're really wanting to make a big splash, you would need to restructure a contract or two. I think John Taylor certainly would have to restructure, but I doubt he would agree to it. I hear a lot of fans say this online. Oh, well, they should restructure this guy's contract. Yeah, if that guy agrees to it. That happens sometimes, but you just don't see that sometimes. My prediction last night or this morning rather, because I did talk about this in detail, it would not surprise me if Kansas City's move to try to replace Rashee Rice was just bring someone up from the practice squad, being either Justin Ross or Nico Remigio. They also do have Montreal Washington, who is who's on the practice squad as well. So to me, it's just a situation where you got to figure out what the Chiefs are going to do. They have some options here. They can go after Amari Cooper. What are the Browns going to be asking for at the end of the day? I don't know what their price tag is going to be. Sometimes you get a little surprised with these trades, and you end up seeing something that doesn't get a. People think that a team would have offered more, and they end up getting less for what they thought the team was going to get. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. I will say this. If you want to go trade for someone or sign someone in free agency, whether it's Amari Cooper, who's on the Browns right now, or maybe a free agent like Michael Thomas or Julio Jones, Hunter Renfrow is still available as well. Here's my thing. It has to happen within the next 48 hours. And here's why. You start your install Thursday. Thursday is technically like a Wednesday for the Chiefs because the Chiefs play on Monday. So the entire week is backed up one day. So let this new player, whether it's Thomas, Jones, Cooper, whoever, bring them in immediately, which again, I don't know if teams are going to agree to that, if you're going to trade with the Chiefs or whatever the case might be. But in an ideal situation, you bring that player in now, they read the playbook, you try to get them to understand some things, then you get the bye week. That's another opportunity to be able to spend some time to get things down. Now, I don't know exact rules for practices. I think you got to be just completely out during the week of the bye week, but there's no way of being able to catch these guys if they do it on Zoom or however they can meet, kind of like what we're doing right now. So this whole thing with the Chiefs, they got to get someone quickly if they want to get someone, because having them just kind of watch from the sidelines in that Saints Monday Night Football game, that's a good start. You also have the bye week. I know a lot of people complained about the bye week, and people just weren't really happy with the timing of the bye. But I think now, given what's been going on with all these injuries right now, this might be the best time for the Chiefs to have their bye week. So just the way things kind of panned out here. Jesus Christ. What is going on in the chat? You guys are interesting. You guys are an interesting bunch sometimes. Renfrow, Kelsey, Gray. Well, Renfrow's a wide receiver, not a tight end. Which, by the way, I do have we have a troll. Oh, so shocker, a troll. Tell him to keep giving me views and comments, because Lord knows that's how that works. But anyway, neither here nor there. Normally I don't get distracted by the comments, but that was pretty funny just seeing some of the back and forth there. I don't even know like who's the troll or whatever, but have at it. You guys have fun doing that. When you just look at the situation right now, $4.9 million in cap space, not a lot of options, and you can't just spend it all on this one wide receiver you want to get, because unfortunately other injuries will happen as the season goes on, and you got to get guys off the street to be part of your practice squad, or maybe guys you elevate, whatever the case may be. So that money still gets used as the season goes on. So you can't just spend it all on one guy, which is why, I said this before, I'll say it again. Would not surprise me if they just go get a practice squad guy. If Justin Ross is that guy, I know there's been a lot of hype surrounding him for a long time. We kind of went over this in last night's podcast. Do you give the guy another opportunity to see, can he live up to that hype? Does he have a better understanding of the playbook? Because we got some reports last year that wasn't really the case with Justin Ross. He was having a very hard time getting a grasp of the offense. And that was the same day where he, went to jail with the domestic violence alleged incident, whatever that was all about. So, it was kind of a weird, it's been a weird couple of years for Justin Ross, because he supposedly would have been a first-round draft pick if it wasn't for his injury. Obviously, that injury, that's way in the past now, but we haven't necessarily seen that hype for Justin Ross. We haven't seen him live up to that for right now. But I would imagine the Chiefs would like to give him one more opportunity. Here's the bad news. Here's the bad news with this Amari Cooper situation. If you do get him, he does lead the NFL on drops right now with 4. Yeah, not something Chiefs fans want to hear, but that is what's going on with him at the moment. But he does make up for it with his production. Let me just read you these numbers here, because I didn't get to this. He's had back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons. He had 1,100 yards in 2022 with Cleveland, his first year with Cleveland, and then last year had 1,200 yards with the Browns. 9 touchdowns in 2022, 5 last year. He's already got a couple this year, this season. He's got kind of a slow start when it comes to receiving yards, getting 148. Last year, he was averaging more than 17 yards per catch, by far the best he's had in his career. I still remember when he joined the Raiders. And that was, what year was it? I think 2015. He was a rookie that year because Michael Crabtree was opposite of him, if I recall correctly. By the way, I made a mistake. Because I was talking to someone earlier. For some reason, I thought Cooper was also with San Francisco, but I was getting him mixed up with Amari Cooper. Or I'm sorry, Michael Crabtree. But I do remember the Raiders drafted. I'm getting names mixed up now. Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree was the new receiver they got in free agency. And 2016 was a great year for the Raiders. Oh, really? Well, one of the best years they've had in this era where they've had this playoff drought. But unfortunately, it ended with a Derek Carr injury. In my opinion, he probably would have been the MVP if he did not get hurt in the last 1 or 2 games of the season, which, the Raiders ended up having to use a third-string quarterback because their backup got hurt also. But yeah, I still remember when I think of Amari Cooper, I do think of those seasons with the Raiders. Those 3-4 years he was with them, had a couple of good moments with Dallas. He's still playing at a high level with the Cleveland Browns. So this is a guy that, maybe his best years are behind him. We don't know. He's 30 years old. It's not young, but it's not terribly old either. I mean, you see some NFL wide receivers in their 30s who are still playing at a high level. So I don't know. I would not be upset at all if the Chiefs went and got Amari Cooper. Yeah, I know he's got the drop issues, but I think at the moment he can make up for it with his production. And let's talk about the drops for just a second here. What other options do you have? I mean, your top 2 wide receivers are hurt. So this is something the Chiefs need. And by the way, I know the way we're talking about all of this, it makes it sound like the Chiefs are 0-4. Obviously not the case at all. They're actually 4-0. But man, it's just kind of hard to see it that way, because in the last 4 weeks, Clyde Edwards-Helaire started the season on IR, not football injury related, but still, unavailable for you. Hollywood Brown, we later learned his injury is worse than what we originally knew. Rashee Rice gets hurt. Isaiah Pacheco gets hurt. I mean, your top 2 running backs and your top 2 wide receivers, Rice not quite yet, but it sounds like he's going to be on IR soon. So you've got you're right now without this exact moment right now, you're without your top 2 wide receivers and your top 2 running backs. There's a huge reason why the Chiefs went and got Kareem Hunt, who was really instrumental in Kansas City's win yesterday, especially on that game-winning touchdown drive where he amassed 23 yards receiving and rushing to help the Chiefs get close to the end zone, and they finished it off with a Samaje Perine touchdown. So hopefully the Chiefs can figure something out, because when you look at the roster right now, who are your main guys that Patrick Mahomes has to work with at skill position players? Again, it's not really the best list, but you got Kelsey, you got Hunt, you got Worthy. Those are your main guys right now on offense. Juju, Watson, Hardman. I think those are maybe your key depth guys. Veach. As far as tight ends go, Noah Gray, we've seen him get more involved this season. Jared with the Chiefs there. So Jared Wiley's been getting involved more, not statistically, but he's been out there on the field. And then you have Samaje Perine. We've seen him get more involved since Isaiah Pacheco's injury. The Chiefs still trust Carson Steele. I've yet to talk about him today. Andy Reid said in his press conference today that this is a guy that, he's got it down, and he's not a fumbler, even though he's fumbled twice. Reid still has high praise for Carson Steele. Isaiah Pacheco, whenever he gets back in a couple of months, he's expected to be part of this offense for sure. Seeing him and Kareem Hunt together would be very interesting for sure to see them split time in the backfield. But you have that's not really a terrible group of guys. I'll say this right now. I think it's safe to assume the Chiefs drafted Xavier Worthy because they were worried about a Rashee Rice suspension. Man, we said this a couple of weeks ago when Hollywood Brown was ruled out for possibly the entire season. That Xavier Worthy draft selection looks better now, even more so now that Rashee Rice is out. We've kind of we haven't really seen too much of Xavier Worthy in these first couple of games. Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns in week 1, but he only had 3 touches in that game. Now he's starting to get a little bit more involved now that Rashee Rice is out, which not the most ideal way for that to happen, but that's just kind of the way it worked out. I was a little worried Travis Kelce, because my whole thing was I thought Travis Kelce was going to get more open and more involved if defenders would focus more on Rashee Rice. Well, Rashee Rice was not there. But Travis Kelce, he did pick it up even after Rashee Rice's injury. So it's good to see Travis Kelce get going. I know the Chargers, they've been dealing with some injuries. They don't really have too much on the defensive side. They had, what was it, one of their pass rushers, Joey Bosa, out and Derwin James suspended. Okay, so it's not like you had, your main core defensive backs who were out in this game. Travis Kelce, he needed a bounce back game, and he got that. So, barely missed Tyreek Hill. Damn. I got the Dolphins game on the side here, but I still think you've got a viable offense right now to move forward with. Your defense is playing great. And, after the bye week, you kind of get into the meat of your schedule, and you're going to start facing some tough teams. So I'm really curious to see how the Chiefs try to step it up, especially defensively speaking, because there are some tough teams ahead. I think the Chiefs can get through the Saints. We're obviously going to break that down Thursday's podcast when we do the Chiefs and Saints breakdown. So make sure you guys tune into that. But man, I'm just looking at this Chiefs team right now. Defensively, they're playing very well. They've really come through. They got off to a little bit of a slow start, especially against the Ravens. And it's never easy preparing for a running quarterback like Lamar Jackson. I mean, there's a lot of opinions about him out there, but man, he's found ways to kind of fool defenses at times, and he certainly did that with the Chiefs, but not in the red zone. Chiefs really pulled through in the red zone before halftime and end of regulation there. As everyone knows, that was talked about for a couple of days for sure, being the season opener and how that ended. But man, this defense in general has just played some great football. You know what's one Chiefs defensive player that nobody's talking about? It's Treshaun Wharton having a really good season, and nobody's really talking about it. Nobody's really talking about that. Let me read you some of these numbers here from Pro Football Focus here. I know a lot of people have interesting opinions about Pro Football Focus. I'm not a big fan of their grades, but I do like the premium stats. That's really what I see the value in Pro Football Focus, because they have stats that you can't find hardly anywhere else. But when you look at Treshaun Wharton, he's third on the team in total pressures with 11. Obviously, Chris Jones and George Karlaftis, they're 1 and 2 respectively. Chris Jones has 19. George Karlaftis has 15. That's not a surprise to any of you guys. But third on the team is Treshaun Wharton with 11. Next is Mike Dana, who did not play this past week. And then tied for fifth, got a couple of players, Drew Tranquill, Leo Chenal, and Felix Anudike-Uzomah. FAU had 3 pressures against Justin Herbert. And yeah, the Chargers were without both of their starting offensive tackles, but FAU's kind of gotten off to a very slow start in his career. So it was actually nice to see him get more involved. I still remember in the Super Bowl, he didn't play much in that game, but I don't think he played any playoff games until Super Bowl 58. And in that game, he had a couple of nice run stops against Christian McCaffrey, who obviously was the best running back in the NFL, won Offensive Player of the Year. Some thought he was the guy who should have been named MVP also. But FAU looked really good in the couple of snaps he played against the 49ers, specifically Christian McCaffrey in that game. But Tershawn Wharton, man, this guy's having a really good season, and nobody's really talking about it in the local media here. He was the guy last week against the Falcons on Sunday Night Football, got that pressure on Kirk Cousins right before the interception was thrown, forced that interception to Shamari Connor, and the Chiefs got a field goal out of that right before halftime. If the Chiefs do not get that field goal, maybe the whole second half changes a little bit. I don't know. But the Falcons could, instead of going for the touchdown, which we would not have had to hear about that controversial pass interference, a missed call in the end zone, but the Falcons could have kicked the field goal in the end to win. Now, the Chiefs would have gotten the ball back and would have probably done something different than what they did, which was a 3-and-out. But, man, it's like that field goal, that interception right there, that pressure from Turk Wharton was ultimately the difference maker, because rather than settling for field goals by the Falcons, they were trying to force a touchdown, and they had 2 drives to do that. Yeah, I know in those 2 drives, what if they kick a field goal both times? They were not expecting to get the ball back so quickly. I've gone over this before, but they felt the need to go for a touchdown both times and could not score on either one of those. And Tershawn Wharton getting that pressure there, forcing the interception, which led to a field goal before halftime, that was a big difference maker there. Nobody's talking about Tershawn Wharton right now and the type of season he's had so far. I know statistically there might not be a lot of flashes there, but the 11 pressures, that to me really stands out with Tershawn Wharton. He's playing really well right now for the Chiefs. He really is. And again, I know the grades, people have a lot of opinions about their PFF's grades, but if you look at the pass rushing grades the Chiefs have right now, Chris Jones 90.2, obviously very high. Next on the list, and this is just for guys who are up front on the defensive line. George Karlaftis has a 68 flat percent rate or a percent grade. Right behind him, Tershawn Wharton, 67.5. So again, I know there are a lot of opinions about PFF and their grades and all that stuff, but take that for what it's worth to you, because to me, I see some accuracy in that right there. Again, I know these grades can be very subjective, but that's a pretty accurate little ranking list there they've got going there. So I like the way Tershawn Wharton's played. I think he's going to be someone that's going to be very important for the Chiefs as the season continues to roll on, especially when you face tougher offenses and tougher offensive lines. So I'm really hoping that Tershawn Wharton continues to do his thing here. Before I get into the next subject here, and the last subject of the podcast, before I get out of here, I do want to preface this because a lot of people don't like to talk about MVP or Offensive Player of the Year, that kind of stuff this early because it's week 4. Some of you guys just don't like to have fun. Really, some of you guys just, I bet you're one of those people at parties or at football get-togethers, like you will ruin the mood in these kinds of things. So have whatever opinion you want on the timing of this discussion, but I do think it's worth having right now. But I'll say it, Chris Jones should be in the discussion for Defensive Player of the Year. I know he has not really been in the discussion in past seasons for Defensive Player of the Year. This is the year where I think Chris Jones should absolutely get a lot of attention for that award. And this is someone that so far has been playing very well, has been making a difference, has been stepping up, and has really come through for the Chiefs, making some big plays here. He's got 3 sacks on the season, 3 tackles for a loss, and a lot of pressures on the season. You normally don't get this kind of play, this level of play from an interior defensive lineman, a defensive tackle specifically. Chris Jones has 19 pressures on the season, and I'll bring up the number exactly where that ranks compared to all pass rushers in the NFL. But man, Chris Jones is having a hell of a year. He really is. He went out there and on the Chargers' final offensive snap of the game, Chris Jones got a sack. And by the way, I mentioned Chris Jones has the 19 sacks, has the same amount as Nick Bosa who's obviously an edge guy for the 49ers, and they played the same amount of games. Edge rushers tend to get more of those than interior defensive linemen. Right now, Chris Jones is tied 8th with Nick Bosa in that category, right behind Myles Garrett, another great edge defender. And if I'm not mistaken, then Myles Garrett just beat out TJ Watt for Defensive Player of the Year last year. So, I mean, when Chris Jones is putting up these kinds of numbers and has similar numbers to guys like Nick Bosa and Myles Garrett, that tells you how great of a player he is. Not that he wasn't before. Everyone knows he's a great player, but to see a defensive lineman do this kind of thing, it's just really impressive to see. So I like the way that Chris Jones has been playing this year. And again, on the Chargers' final offensive snap in yesterday's game, what happened? Chris Jones got a sack and forced 4th and 15. Which, by the way, let me go over this quickly, because a lot of you guys pushed back against me on this when I said that it was a mistake for Jim Harbaugh to punt the football. Let me pull up the exact timing of it, because it was 4th and 15. They were in their 40-ish yard line area. That's where they were. And they punted the football. Now, I know the Chiefs failed last week in putting away the Falcons, but they're going to improve on that kind of thing. There is such thing as improvement. So there's exactly 3:26 left. The Chargers are on the 40-yard line. I mean, I'm looking at the picture here. It's the 40-yard line, but statistically it shows they're on the 41. Take that for what, I mean, you decide. Argue over the difference of 1 yard here. I don't care what the down and distance is. I don't care where you are on the field. The Chargers have 1 timeout left, and there's 3:26 left to play in the game. And they punted the football back to Patrick Mahomes. Spoiler alert, the Chiefs put away the Chargers with that nice catch and run by Xavier Worthy to ice the game. So punting was a mistake by Harbaugh in this one. Let's be clear about this. I don't care what it was, 4th and forever. The Chiefs played the Lions in week 1 last year, and it was 4th and 20. They were going for it. There was a false start on, I don't remember who, probably Jawan Taylor. So it then became 4th and 25. They still went for it because the game was on the freaking line. You can't just punt the foot. You're at the 40-yard line. I mean, the Chargers defense was having some success against Patrick Mahomes. So if you fail right there, hey, look, go out there and blitz, or at least try to stop the run. Instead, you give it back to the Chiefs, and they're kind of in a comfortable area getting the football, and you only have 1 timeout left. So that was silly to me that Harbaugh chose to punt the football. Look, you can't convince me that was the right call, because they never got the ball back. But as far as Chris Jones goes, this guy should be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. And by the way, where are all of those Chiefs naysayers? So when Chris Jones signed his new deal in March, there were a lot of people saying, he got the record-breaking contract here. Now he's going to get old and lazy, and he's never going to be good again. Where are those people at? Because Chris Jones, and Tony Romo said this, you're hearing a lot of people in the national media say it as well. Chris Jones is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. I hope he wins it. I really do. This guy deserves it, 100%. I feel like, there's too big of a deal that gets made out of Chris Jones and his postseason sack numbers. He only has 2, and they're both against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. That was in the AFC Championship game. The Chiefs beat the Bengals. Outside of that, Chris Jones does not have a sack in any postseason game. But if you paid attention to both Super Bowls against the 49ers, so Super Bowl 54 and Super Bowl 58, Chris Jones in Super Bowl 54 was a huge reason for the Chiefs turnaround, pressuring Jimmy Garoppolo, even batting one of his passes that was going to an open receiver. If Chris Jones does not do any of that, the San Francisco is able to eat up some clock, and maybe Kansas City does not have the opportunity to score those 3 touchdowns like they did in the second half of the fourth quarter. In the Super Bowl 58 in Allegiant Stadium against the 49ers, Brock Purdy gets the snap. For whatever reason, they don't block Chris Jones, and you can't ever apologize for it. That's not Chris Jones's fault. Chris Jones goes out there and pressures. I was about to say Jimmy G. He goes out there and pressures. I just said his damn name. What was it? Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy misses a wide open receiver in the end zone. Now, obviously, would not have won them the game. I have a feeling not every 49ers player was aware of that. But that would have given you a nice little boost in overtime. And Purdy failed because Chris Jones also was pushing, who was it? One of the offensive tackles into Josh Allen in that playoff game where Tyler Bass missed. Josh Allen had a wide open receiver in the end zone, and he completely missed him because of the pressure of Chris Jones. And listen, I'm not making an excuse for Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a great quarterback. A lot of people think Josh Allen is better than Patrick Mahomes, especially specifically in Buffalo. So if you're the best quarterback and better than Mahomes, you should be hitting those players in the end zone. Patrick Mahomes, I know we haven't seen it recently, but overall in his career, he has an insane success rate when dealing with pressure. Elite quarterbacks find a way to make those throws even under pressure. Josh Allen couldn't do it. Brock Purdy couldn't do it. Justin Herbert, with the game on the line, gets sacks on third down, and they punt the football away, which was foolish in my opinion. So Chris Jones, the type of season he's having right now, had the strip sack in week 1, has 3 sacks in total, a bunch of pressures on the season. This guy should be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, 100%. Should be in the running. Football season is here now, and if you guys want to check out the Chiefs, the Jayhawks, the Wildcats, the Tigers, or any other NFL or college football team, you can do so by getting your tickets through SeatGeek. I like SeatGeek because they keep you very honest. Anytime they have their ticket prices listed, they'll put a green dot next to ticket prices that are worth spending money on, and if resellers have ticket prices listed too high, they'll put a red dot next to those ticket prices, so definitely avoid those tickets. And by the way, for those of you that are looking for a little extra bonus here, I have a promo code you can use if you're a first-time customer of SeatGeek. Enter my promo code FARZINE at checkout, and you will save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, pick your tickets, and at checkout, new customers can put in my promo code FARZINE and save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. All right, I'll read a few questions here before we get out of here. Kyle says, so you say what the Chiefs would do, and we said our ideas. What would you want the Chiefs to get or trade for? Well, I would not be opposed to Amari Cooper, but I'm not really expecting it in the long run. I just don't know if the Chiefs really do anything. Here's the big reason why I don't think the Chiefs are going to do any. I'm sure they'll try to go and get somebody. But last year, you all saw what happened last year with the drops. The Chiefs didn't even do a damn thing about it. They just said, yeah, well, we're going to stand pat and go with who we have. We're going to go with Tony. We're going to go with MVS, Sky Moore, Justin Watson. Those are going to be our guys behind Rashee Rice. And listen, even Rice had issues up all the way through the Super Bowl, and he certainly improved on all of those things. Unfortunately, we don't get to see how that ends for him, or maybe we do. I don't know. We're still not really sure what that whole thing is about with his knee. So I don't know. That's interesting. Timothy says Chris Jones' only competition is TJ Watt. Really? Might be. Again, I think Myles Garrett's a great football player. Isn't there a defender for the Packers who's had like 4 or 5 interceptions on the year already? Who? Oh, okay. Xavier McKinney, the safety for the Packers. Yeah, he's got 4 picks on the season. Tyrann Mathieu's also having a really good season too. This is someone who should have been in the running for Defensive Player of the Year when he was in Kansas City, but never was. But yeah, I mean, you got some competition there, but Chris Jones, certainly, when you look at his odds went up for Defensive Player of the Year recently. I think he's like 3rd or 4th right now on that list. I think last I checked was at plus 1,200. So yeah. Aaron says, let's talk MVP after week 6 or 7. It's a great chunk of data without overanalyzing it. Yeah, but where's the fun in that, Aaron? See, this is what there are a lot of people that don't like GOAT conversations or, the best Super Bowl winning team, worst Super Bowl winning team. Listen, part of these discussions here is you gotta have a little bit of fun. And listen, with the Chiefs right now, we don't have a whole lot in the next couple of days because the Chiefs don't practice until Thursday, so we're not going to get any media for a while. So I think you can have a valid discussion about Chris. We're not saying crown him right now. What I'm saying is he should be in the discussion if he plays at this rate. Hamlin deserves comeback player of the year. Yeah, some people thought that last year. Listen, the guy did not play much last year, and I'm happy for him. And then that interception he got last week on Monday Night Football, that was obviously a very special moment for him. And I saw Matt Derrick. He had a really strong opinion about him not winning the award. You gotta play. You gotta play. Look, what did Mike Vick come back from? Well, he was away from football a couple of years because he was in prison, and then he comes back to football and he wins comeback player of the year whenever they trade McNabb and they start using Vic more. So, it's not a situation award. It's about, who was away from the game or struggled or got injured, whatever, and who looked the best when they came back in their first year. And I just feel like rightfully it went to Joe Flacco. But, the Damar Hamlin story is still good. I don't think any of that's been taken away from him. Or shouldn't, at least. Jacob says, let's bring back Justin Ross and see what he can do. Do they put up all this hype on him before looking for a trade? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. Again, I think that the problem is, as ideal it would be for the Chiefs to get Amari Cooper or somebody now, and by now I mean the next 24 to 48 hours, especially with the bye week. So that would, give them some time to get up to speed and get a good understanding of the playbook. Other teams are not going to do that. I don't think teams are willing to trade now because right now no one's season is quote unquote over. But, as we get to mid and late October, you start to kind of see who kind of fizzles out of the playoff picture and who's already written off. And that's when teams might be more willing to trade. So I don't know. I mean, unless the Chiefs offer something right now that the Browns can't refuse or turn down, I just don't know if that happens anytime soon, as ideal as it would be. What is the cap hit in releasing Jawan Taylor after the season? I don't really know. Let me look that up for you real quickly. Actually, let me go to over the cap. Over the cap. I don't think it's a feasible option. We're in 2024. He's got a cap number of 24.7 million. Let's just call it that. He has the exact same cap number for 2025 and 2026. Which are, that's all he has in his contract. But still, I hate to say it, but the Chiefs are stuck with this guy for a while. Can they cut him after? What is the pre-cut if they cut him pre-June 1st? According to over the cap, dead money would be almost 29.5 million, and they would say 4.75 in caps if they cut them before June 1st of 2025. That's not really good. Yeah, that's a lot of dead money there. You would have to see if he's willing to restructure. Otherwise, I don't know. I mean, this is why some people said it was a risky pick. I thought it was a good signing at the time. But no, we're seeing why this is not a good look for the Chiefs. Listen, Brett Veach has done a lot of great things for the Chiefs. This is one of his few mistakes here, for sure. All right, let me see if there's one more here. One or two more good ones here. Yeah, Jody Fortson, he is back on the team. He's on the practice squad for now, as is Peyton Hendershot, but I don't think they're looking to get him anytime soon. Corey says we need receivers that can create separation from the defenders. You have the personnel to do that. I mean, Juju's got good speed. Worthy's got good speed. Kelsey was able to do that yesterday. We saw that more. And listen, Kelsey's been able to do it in past games, but we haven't necessarily seen that. And by the way, I was rewatching the Chiefs game today, and I noticed this yesterday, and we didn't talk about this yesterday, nor have I pointed this out yet. Patrick Mahomes is missing a lot of open receivers in the end zone. Listen, every elite quarterback, they'll make a throw that they wish they had back, and if they could get a do-over, they would definitely have thrown it elsewhere because they missed an open receiver. Patrick Mahomes has been missing a lot of those lately. He had Worthy on a wide open situation in the second half, didn't hit him. had Justin Watson in the end zone wide open, didn't throw the ball to him. He's got to be much better about it. And listen, if there's anyone that's going to help him fix that, it's Andy Reid. So I trust they'll figure that out. But he's got to be way better about it. Way better about it. Let me see if there's a quick score update on these Monday Night Football games. My God, these are 2 beatdowns. Tennessee with a backup quarterback. Didn't Will Levis get hurt? And who do they have right now? Mason Rudolph? I remember Mason Rudolph. Every time I hear Mason Rudolph's name, I think of that fight against between the Steelers and the Browns. Because Mason Rudolph, after the game, he was like, I wasn't doing anything. I was not doing anything. I was just minding my own business. He was starting to fight with me. And then, the Twitter detectives go out there on social media and they slow-mo everything. And you can actually see him kneeing a dude in the jewels. And that ain't cool, dude. That ain't cool at all. So, and then he had to do a lot of apologizing after that. Because he did put his teammates in a really bad spot. So the PR department for the Steelers, they earned their money that week for sure. Let me see if there's 1 or 2 more comments I can read here. Yeah, Kyle said we paid him over Snead. Yeah, listen, I'm a huge fan of L'Jarius Snead, and I hated that he had to go. But man, unfortunately, we've seen it a couple times already. You can't pay everybody. You just can't. You saw it with Tyreek Hill, and you've seen it with L'Jarius Sneed. You might see it with Trey Smith very soon. I hope I'm wrong, but it's possible. I mean, the Chiefs are making Butker. I know Butker's just a kicker, but still, Butker's the highest paid at his position in the history of the sport. Chris Jones, highest paid defensive tackle in NFL history. Creed Humphrey, the highest paid center in NFL history. Travis Kelce got a nice little salary raise in the offseason. I mean, you're paying your guys a lot of money, and they're all worth it, but you can't pay everybody. You just can't. This is not Madden where you can turn off the salary cap and get them all to stay. It's just it's not realistic. Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you, man. I know this is off topic, but what are your thoughts and opinions on the passing of 2 sports icons, Dikembe Mutombo and Pete Rose? Yeah, this is a really bad day for sports with a couple of losses there. Mutombo was just so young, man, and obviously a legend. I mean, and the name, you just remember a name like that, Mutombo. Pete Rose, this is the controversial one, I guess, because he should be in the Hall of Fame, or some people think not. I mean, listen, I don't know, man. I don't think he should have been betting on baseball. I don't think anyone's defending that. I don't know, man. There are a lot of people in baseball with the controversy and steroids and Pete Rose with what he did. But at the same time, people kind of think it's a good thing for baseball because it got a lot of people talking about the sport. Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? I don't know, man. I don't know. Actually, I never met Pete Rose, but I did see him in Vegas once. So there are a lot of sports memorabilia stores. Some of them have closed because they rip you off, and they charge you an arm and a leg for all of these things. Sometimes I kind of question the authenticity of those things, because I'm like, I would play dumb with the employees there. I'd be like, so how'd you get these autographs? Do they come in? He's like, yeah, all these guys, they come in, they sign autographs for. I'm like, bullshit. No. Listen, I've been to Vegas many times. I know who does come and who doesn't. Joe Montana does a lot of signings. Jerry Rice, one of them. Mike Tyson, I think I mentioned. Anyway, Emmitt Smith. But I saw Pete Rose at one of these meet and greets. Nobody was in line to meet him. And I mean, I don't know what the price was to meet him and take a picture and an autograph. Nobody was in line. There was just one family there, and they, took all the time in the world to talk to him because nobody was behind them in line. And there's the guy, the manager of the store. He's like verbally promoting that Pete Rose is there, and nobody's going. And I'm looking at the some of the baseballs he signed because I walked around the store a little bit just to kind of look around. He has several baseballs that say, "I'm sorry I bet on baseball, Pete Rose. I'm sorry I bet on baseball, Pete Rose. I'm sorry I bet on baseball." He has several of those, which I kind of think is interesting. And then he has a baseball. It doesn't say, "I'm sorry I bet on baseball." It says, "Make America Great Again." He signed it, Pete Rose. Every time I think of Pete Rose, I think of that. So that was pretty. Oh man, it's also one of those stores where you cannot take pictures. I mean, you can probably sneak a phone out, but they have employees that are like, I mean, they act like they're doing security for the White House. I mean, they are very strict on those policies and rules. So I would have loved to get a picture, but unfortunately could not get that. But every time I think of Pete Rose, I just think of, when I saw him and some of the baseballs I saw, says sorry about on baseball, and then the one baseball that doesn't say that, it says "Make America Great Again." I thought that was pretty funny. Timothy says signing Nick Bolton. Yeah, that's again another guy that the Chiefs have got to look at. He got off to a slow start this year, but he has been playing much better football. Really, he's been playing much better lately, which is good to see. But gosh, I hope they can find a way. I hate to say it. I don't know if Nick Bolton's coming back because they got a nice team-friendly deal with Drew Tranquill, and I know Drew Tranquill's not playing as well as this year compared to last year. But I think if he has to choose between Nick Bolton and Trey Smith, who are from the same draft class and their contracts are both expiring at the same time, which is going to be this upcoming offseason, I think it's got to be Trey Smith. I think Trey Smith. And yeah, Blake has a really good point here. McDuffie's a guy that they're going to be trying to sign in the in the near future. So this is, what, the Chiefs did not have this problem 10, 15 years ago. We were begging for teams to come to Kansas City. But man, yeah, Brad Veach has been doing a phenomenal job in these drafts. He really has. Pete Rose may not have made the MLB Hall of Fame, but he's in the WWE Hall of Fame. Is he really? I did not know Pete Rose had any affiliation with the WWE. Timothy, you educated me today. I learned something. I'm gonna have to. I'm very interested. I'm very curious to look that up and see what Pete Rose's involvement was with the WWE. Interesting. He's in the WWE Hall of Fame, but not the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's actually really funny. That's really funny. I like that. All right. We've covered enough ground here. Read a bunch of questions, so I appreciate you guys. Obviously, there will not be a podcast on Wednesday since the Chiefs are not practicing that day, but we will be back Thursday evening. So a little bit of a shift in the schedule here. Going to be shifting along with the teams. So make sure you guys join us Thursday evening. We will be doing the Chiefs Zone podcast live. Join me for that. And then next Monday, a week from now, we will do our pregame live chat. I'll let you guys know what time we'll do the pregame live chat. We'll obviously do the halftime live stream and then our postgame live stream. So make sure you guys join me for that as well. The postgame live stream will, of course, be the Chiefs Zone podcast live. And that'll be a late night. That'll be a fun late night. We got a couple of Monday Night Football games this year. This is the first one of the season. So I think even though like the opponent they gave us, okay, it's a weird one, but it's Monday Night Football. You'll take it. You'll take it. All right, guys. My name is Farzin Vasugan. Thank you all again for downloading and listening to the podcast. Appreciate everyone who watched live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Appreciate all of you guys. I'm out. I'll talk to you all Thursday night. Take care.